Greetings and welcome into the Sports Shuffle as Joel and I goof off right before the stream starts. It's always fun. I am Flying Ryan Ryan Gilchrist along with.
You might be called hacking Ryan Gilchrist tonight.
We're gonna try not to cough. It appears I might be getting sick again, and obviously just getting over the last cough about 2 weeks ago is not ideal.
Along with Tampa Motormouth Joel Verlin.
And yeah, I'm very sad. I'm wearing a Derrick Henry jersey. He beat my Dolphins on Monday Night Football. He scored a touchdown that I thought was going to get me in the playoffs. And you see that big red X up there says I did not. I got knocked out with a win because NFL.com's tiebreakers are problematic if they are head-to-head.
Not that wasn't the word. I was actually listening to Fantasy Sports today, and apparently some managers out there, you had, I don't know how many this was, but if you had Jared Goff winning by 1 point, apparently there was a stat correction because he was credited with a fumble that was given to another player. So you can just imagine somebody's like, "Oh, right, I'm in. What do you mean I'm not in?"
Yeah, it's not great.
That's brutal.
But I will say this, as the board behind me shows, only 2 teams below 500. One is an existing rebuild, one that was trying to push it 1 more year. So both of those, not a big surprise. 3 500 teams and 9 teams all making the playoffs. So not too bad, all in all. Joel, I know you made the playoffs in our 10 and 16 team leagues.
3 out of 4 teams in. Booyah. Never give up, never surrender.
I was kind of hoping we'd have a Sports Shuffle showdown in the first round of the 16-teamer, but I got the 1 seed. Joel got the 7 seed and missed it by that much. Oh, and of course, another week of football down. We're in the fantasy football playoffs, and it's a great time for major injuries because, of course, Justin Herbert broke a finger on his hand. He is out for the rest of the season, given he hasn't had the best year of his career by any stretch of the imagination. But if you got to the playoffs with him, you are now without him. Yeah. And then a guy who's named after a hockey stick company, Easton, is Easton Stick. It is the actual name of a hockey stick. He's going to be the quarterback tonight for the Chargers versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Why? Because it's on TV and we're going to watch. Thursday night special strikes once again. Another injury that
you remember, everybody thought Pats and Steelers were going to be boring, and how did that turn out?
We've had some good luck on the primetime games. Not so much Dallas, Philly. We'll get to that in a little bit. But no Justin Herbert, no Keenan Allen tonight, who's going to miss. No Josh Jacobs tonight, who's going to miss. And Devontae Adams, the remaining big star, is ill.
You wonder how many people were running to the waiver wire to grab Zamir White?
Probably more than you'd like to admit.
Who would you rather start this week, Ty Chandler or Zamir White?
I think Ty Chandler. But it's real tough because the Raiders looked so bad last week. We'll get to all the games here in a little bit because it was yucky doo-doo.
I saw a highlight video somebody did about that unbelievable horrid game that the title is the new.
Oh yeah, that's Brandon Perner from That's Good Sports.
About 23 more news. Worst game ever.
Broncos fan, and the Broncos have been bad for so long. So he started with the worst game ever. Then they had a bad week. And that was the new worst game ever. It's always been bad Broncos losses. This game was so bad he broke that.
How bad was it?
Broke that trend because Raiders Vikings alert 3 total points, and it came at the end of the game. It was just garbage all around. But yeah, some big injuries going into tonight's game. We'll do the preview of that later because we're so excited for another Thursday night football game between sub 500 teams.
As they say on Twitch, Kappa.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, back to week number 14. We'll start quickly with the Thursday nighter. The Patriots do win the game.
We already yacked about it, so I don't think we need to.
Yeah. Yeah, 21-18 win over the Steelers. Patriots 3-10. Probably shoot themselves in the foot for any shot at the number 1 overall pick. Steelers 7-6 after the loss. They find themselves after week 14 in an absolute cluster at 7-6 in the AFC. Who gets the playoff spots? It's still very much up in the air.
Yeah, that game prompted Matthew Berry to turn his show that week instead of Happy Hour. He called it Zappy Hour.
Oh, Bailey Zappi had a great first half of that game, and then it was enough to win, but that was all they really had.
The Steelers did a mind-blowing play calling that you're just going, why are you doing that? Why are you doing a 30-yard pass? Just hand it off, run it up the middle, do a short
4th
screen.
and 2 with the game on the line. Let's throw it
Why?
deep.
Why?
Mitch Trubisky.
Like that.
Good plan.
Like Nancy Kerrigan. Why?
Speaking of why, the NFC South has a new leader. At 6-7, it's the hat Joel's wearing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because chaos reigns in the AFC South. Or the NFC South. AFC South too. But the NFC South is just bizarre. Buccaneers win 29-25 on a game where Mike Evans didn't really show up, which is surprising that the Bucs didn't play well without Mike Evans showing up. Both teams exit 6-7.
I was listening to the What the Football podcast. That's with the Susie Schuster and Amy Trask, who actually literally used to work with Al Davis and the Raiders when they were in the other city. And she actually made a comment about that the NFC South should be regulated.
It's bad. It's bad in the NFC South. But the Buccaneers, with this win, moved to first place at 6-7, part of a 3-way tie at 6-7. So the battle is not over.
Somebody's got to win the division so they can ascend to the playoffs and lose in the first round.
But the good news for the Falcons is at least Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts looked like early first-round draft pick players because they were all very good in this game. Something we haven't seen from the Falcons. So at least for fantasy reasons, they're playing better for you. However, they lost the game, so we'll see if Arthur Smith keeps up that mentality.
Yeah, just trying to. I don't know if bringing the mustache back would help or not, or
I don't know. Any ups and downs for this one, Joel?
For the
Falcons.
Bucks and Falcons. Yep, I was just sort of in the wrong time space continuum. There is definitely ups. Yeah, that would be Rashard White. Definitely struggled to find the running room for most of the game. He was able to convert his patented 31-yard screen pass for an easy touchdown and another running back one performance. Then Baker Mayfield, though difficult to watch for the majority of the game, Baker completed 3 total touchdowns and led his team on the game-winning drive with just 30 seconds to go. Very nice rebound for him from the Panthers game and the Downs. Oh, man. You're a Bucs fan. You're still trying to figure out how the bleep did we win when Mike Evans, 1 catch for 8 yards anytime. That's his stat line. You know he's had a rough day. And Chris Godwin, I mean, you know when Chris Godwin's significant other is criticizing the team publicly, things ain't going well, as Godwin totaled 11 targets but only ended the day with just 53 yards on 5 receptions. You're trying to figure out how the Bucs won.
Bucs won because Rashad White is he's really come up the big this year. He's one of the top running backs in fantasy. I think running back 4 after this week, which very impressive for him.
If you would have looked at the crystal ball way in the way back machine, there's no way you would have been able to prognosticate that happening.
I mean, you could have went and got Rashad White and Brian Robinson very late in drafts and had a great tandem of running backs this year for fantasy. As well as someone from the next team we're going to talk about, Kyron Williams from the Rams has been a great pickup as well.
Active this weekend, I believe.
Yeah. He's going to be very good, but the Ravens get the win 37-31 on a punt return in overtime. As the Ravens back and forth game with the Rams, very, very entertaining, but Isaiah Likely, Odell Beckham, Zay Flowers, all good receiving games. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Kyron. I mean, this was a fantasy bonanza. Great Great game. It deserved to end on a better note than a punt return, but the Rams fall to 6-7. They're in a cluster at 6-7 in the NFC because that holds a wild card spot right now. And the Ravens at 10-3 take first place, sole possession of first place in the AFC at this point. Pending the Dolphins result on Monday night.
This game definitely up. Both Stafford and Jackson put on a show. Cooper Kupp definitely stepped up big to help you into the playoffs. $1.15 and a toddy. So you gotta love that. And hero of the game, maybe the day. Tylan Wallace, punt return TD, lined up for the Ravens. Just 5 offensive snaps and ran 4 routes. He made the most important play of the game on special teams, running back a 76-yard punt return for the walk-off game-winning touchdown in overtime.
Yeah, big win for the Ravens. They've got a couple of tough matchups coming up, including the Jaguars, 49ers, and Dolphins. So a lot of football left to play. But if they can keep on top of their game, they have a very good chance of staying on top of the AFC. Next up,
the 2 downs for this game.
Oh, go ahead.
Tutu Atwell, uno target.
Yeah. And an injury.
One.
And an injury in this one.
Gus Edwards, the bus was out of service for week 14.
Yeah, Keaton Mitchell, I think, is taking that job at this point.
As we go on to Soldier Field.
The Detroit Lions starting to look a little bit fraudulent in the last few weeks, losing to the Packers, and this week losing 28-13 to the Bears. Had to have a miracle comeback a few weeks back against the Bears just to win that game. The Bears look much better than they did to start the season. They are now 5-8 after the 28-13 win over the Lions. Lions fall to 9-4, and they are still the 3 seed in the NFC because the NFC South is terrible, and they won't fall any further than that unless they lose the division. The Bears, Justin Fields, I think he's made a good case to remain the starter for Chicago going into next year. Of course, it looks like they're going to have the number 1 overall pick via the Carolina Panthers. If they do not trade that, there's going to be a lot of speculation they're going to draft Caleb Williams. I personally think that is a mistake. I don't think Justin Fields is what's wrong with this team. The defense has stepped up. The offense has looked much better, more cohesive. Now they've gotten used to DJ Moore. The running back situation seems to be getting a little more clear, but not really. But the defense really stepping up has made this team much better. The Lions defense starting to look really, really suspect as they fall for the second time in a few weeks. And 9-4, still first place, but that margin is slimming.
Yeah, Fields and Moore were fantastic, but main up here has to be the Bears defense unit has been stellar past couple of weeks. They had 3 turnovers and shut out the Lions in the second half. They have been playing like it's 1985. I don't think we're going to see any shuffle videos coming from the Bears quite yet this year. Downs, Coach Campbell definitely didn't have the team ready. Sun God did not rain down. But the main down, and the Jared Goff had 2 interceptions, lost a fumble on a mishandled snap. There was no magical comeback this time. His poor play should definitely concern the Lions big time.
The Lions are probably the team the most that would benefit from an early quarterback. We'll see if they do something in the draft that's drastic to try and move up to number 1, given I don't know if the Bears are going to give up that pick to a team in division, but I don't know. Maybe another team will trade with them and the Lions will get back in behind them. Interesting to see the Lions starting to struggle. They were a team I was hoping would go a lot further, and it looks like they might. The defense is just falling apart. Next up, a team I think we all wrote off for dead that is riding high after week number 14. That is the Cincinnati Bengals on the back of Jake freaking Browning. Now at 7-6 after beating the Colts 34-13. The Colts exit this game also at 7-6. Remember, I said there's a cluster at 7-6 in the AFC. I was not kidding. Colts, they don't look the same without Jonathan Taylor. He's going to be out for week number 15, but it's expected to return at some point this season. Hopefully for people with him in fantasy, he comes back next week, but only time will tell. Jamar Chase, good game. Not his best game ever, but a good game. Joe Mixon, very good. Chase Brown got a few touches, but a long touchdown pass. He's the spell back behind Joe Mixon. Just a very good team performance for the Bengals. And after we wrote them off with the Joe Burrow injury, they're done. Maybe their parts are good enough to overcome this injury and at least get them into the playoffs.
Yeah, the Bengals are like me call an ambulance, but not for me. As definite up for Jake
Call it
Browning.
for me. I'm dying.
Jake Browning, fifth-year quarterback, played phenomenally well in his last two starts against AFC South opponents. Could he hold on to the momentum, get the Bengals into the playoffs? Playoffs? You kidding me? In what seemed like a lost season. Like you said, the parts might be good enough. Of course, oh yeah, you mentioned JT. Down definitely has to be Zach Moss after a fantastic start to the season. As the Colts lead back, he just hasn't looked like his early season self since taking over for JT. He did very little with 81% of the running back rushes and a 20% target share. Yet good.
Yeah, Zach Moss, he looked very good earlier this season, but he's reverting back to what he is. He is just a spell back. He is a depth back. He is not Jonathan Taylor. Even though the production early season was great, kind of got there on the back of some softer matchups, and I just think is kind of coming back to normal. All right, next up,
Getting down with the Browns.
the Browns win with Joe Flacco at quarterback, beating the Jaguars 31-27. David Njoku, first ever 2-touchdown game. Mari Cooper returned from the dead, essentially. Jerome Ford, not too bad in this game. For the Jaguars, Zay Jones looks like he's going to be the one that steps up in Christian Kirk's absence. Travis Etienne, a decent game, at least got a touchdown in this one. Jags and Browns both exit this game at 8-5, both in good position for the playoff race, but again, they're only one game up of a horde of teams. Jaguars, though, have lost a couple in the last couple of weeks, and fortunately for them, the Texans are also struggling, or else they probably would have fallen out of the first place spot in this division by now.
Yeah, one up here, definitely Evan Engram. You know, all of a sudden you drafted him, or somehow you picked him up, or scooped him up, or traded for him.
2 weeks in a row with a touchdown.
Set multiple personal records and a new team mark with today's performance. The went was, oh yeah, Calvin Ridley needed to step up with Christian Kirk injured, but for the second straight week, you feel to do so. See also Zay Jones.
Yeah, Zay Jones was the better receiver in this one. Evan Engram, though, back-to-back week with a touchdown. That's encouraging, even though it took him till week 13 to get his first touchdown. That maybe he's going to get on a little bit of a heater.
Tier 1 elite TE.
Yeah, I think he's a tight end one in fantasy leagues, which just means he's a top 10 guy. But with Trevor Lawrence and bad weather, it seems like that's the go-to guy. And this was not a great weather game. And I just think with Trevor Lawrence playing in this game, the Jaguars are going to be disappointed they let this one go. Next up, a game that went kind of exactly how we all thought it would, because the Panthers look horrible. And Bryce Young, I don't know if you heard the fantasy footballers this week talk about how Bryce Young has yet to show a spark, a flash of brilliance, because we saw Will Levis on Monday night show some flashes of brilliance. We've seen CJ Stroud with a lot of them. We're not asking for a rookie quarterback to be
something.
Joe Namath, Steve Young, Dan Marino, John Elway from the start. We're not asking for that. What we want to see from a guy like Bryce Young is the occasional, oh, wow, look, he took over this game, or he played better than we expected and helped his team win games. That's not happening. And the Saints win this one 28-6. Saints leave this game 6-7. Derek Carr still a very bad quarterback.
That record seems familiar. I think I've seen that somewhere before.
Yeah, they're part of the three-way tie at the top of the NFC South. The Panthers have secured the bottom spot.
Yeah, as sloppy as all game. Carr had a good day statistically, but yikes, just not a lot of ups. The downs, Young, no protection. It's hard for him to have any flashes of brilliance when your O-line sucks. Alvin Kamara, TD salvaged his fantasy day, but not what you wanted to see going into the fantasy playoffs. And DJ Chark fading from fantasy relevance and fast.
Yeah. If you're playing DJ Chark, I mean, Adam Thielen's the one that's fading away very quickly. Chuba Hubbard was a little bit of a bright spot in this game, at least got a lot of the work, but Saints came in, dominated this game. Not the biggest domination of the week, however. That comes in the next game. But the Saints get a win over a team you have to beat if you have any hope of going to the playoffs. They are in a tough battle for first. I call that battle very, very loosely because the NFC South is a joke. But if they can win two of their last four, they got a shot to win the division because the division's so bad. All right.
Going to the deadliest turf in the NFL.
Yeah, next up is the blowout of the week, and it came in the Jets-Texans game, so of course everybody would be assuming that means C.J. Stroud and the Texans had a great week, and they did not.
Nah.
C.J. Stroud exits this one with a concussion. Nico Collins exited this game. Zach Wilson throwing for 300 yards and multiple touchdowns in the rain as the Jets win 30-6 over what was a surging Texans team. What happened? Like, there's no explanation for this. Garrett Wilson looked like a top flight receiver in this game. Zach Wilson looked like a very competent quarterback. The defense was electric. That was the only not surprising in this game. The Jets defense looked great. The Texans, tough matchup, tough weather. C.J. Stroud leaving this one early doesn't help, but he wasn't playing well before that. What do you got?
Is just the one up, definitely Zach Wilson, showing his playmaking ability throughout the entire affair. He came out of the game relatively clean and with 3 touchdowns. He's playing for his future. He's auditioning. The down, yeah, if he's helped you out in a couple of weeks in fantasy, but C.J. Stroud saw his playoff chances, offensive rookie of the year chances, and his goals, especially with that very painful moment. All take big hits. In the game, he faces an uphill climb to get cleared in time for next week. Both quarterbacks, the main focal point of this game.
Yeah, Jets moved to 5-8. They are still probably dead for the playoff race because, again, it's just a huge chunk of teams at 7-6 from everything they have to break the wrong way for them to even have a shot. Texans fall to 7-6. Without C.J. Stroud, if Nico's out, missing time, they've already lost Tank Dell. This season can get away from him, but it is a rebuilding year. Year one for DeMeco Ryans as the head coach. So even if they finish the season at 7-10, they lose out. It's still been a pretty successful season for a Texans team that I think many people would have expected 5 wins as a great season before the season started.
Now we go to the worst game of the year.
Yeah, Jets-Texans was 0-0 at halftime. Vikings-Raiders was 0-0 with 2 minutes left in the game. There is nothing exciting to talk about here other than the injury to Josh Jacobs, who is going to miss Thursday Night Football. Dobbs will be benched for Nick Mullins going forward, but the Vikings win 3-0, move to 7-6, and hold on to the 6th seed in the NFC.
Yeah, down was everybody on the offensive side of this ball for both teams who was involved in this fiasco, especially Justin Jefferson, who left the field early in the first half and never returned after taking a vicious hit, hauling in a huge throw from Joshua Dobbs. No ups when a freaking field goal wins. Worst game of the year. I just feel sorry for anybody who had to watch it and it'd be like, all right, now Sunday drive. Let's get another update from Las Vegas. Nothing's still happening. Okay, let's go to another game.
Yeah, this game, if you watch Red Zone, you wouldn't have known it was happening until the final minutes. Aiden O'Connell possibly getting benched, waiting on official word on who's going to start tonight.
I think it was allegedly Jimmy Garoppolo and doing an Undertaker rising from the dead.
Yeah, Garoppolo and Hoyer on the docket. They haven't announced who they're going to start yet. It's going to be interesting. The Raiders are a bad team, so I think they figured out Aiden O'Connell's not the future. They're going to see what they can do the rest of the season, and I think they're a prime candidate again to move up in the draft, get a quarterback. There's a couple good ones in this year's draft. Raiders definitely need one going forward. Team that does not need a quarterback, the San Francisco 49ers.
This game sort of felt like it's Groundhog Day. Didn't we already do this?
Yeah, they just played a couple weeks ago. Niners won 31-13. This time they win 28-16, so the Seahawks were a little bit closer. DK Metcalf had an early touchdown, then went completely silent. Brock Purdy proved why he is the leader for MVP. And Christian McCaffrey, well, he's still Christian McCaffrey.
CMC.
The Seahawks moved to 7-6. They're in a battle for that 7 seed. The Niners, 10-3, pulled into the win column tie with the Eagles prior to the Sunday Night Football game. Of course, they got the head-to-head win, so that night game would be big on the overall standings. But the Niners look like a team outside of that 3-game just hiccup, cough, sneeze, whatever you want to call it. They just fell apart for 3 games. They look like the best team in football right now.
Yeah, it's a definite story of the game, and the up has to be. Yeah, if you've heard the cheer, Ayuk is on fire. His rise to stardom continued in this game as he finished with 100 yards and/or touchdown for the 6th freaking straight game. Just an offense loaded with talent with all position. He still manages to make his mark. The down, yeah, that would be Walker and Charbonnet, as they're having a near split as Walker's value this weekend. Running back by committee concern going into the playoffs, not what you want to have if you have either.
I'm betting you're not in the playoffs if you're counting on Walker and or Charbonnet. For the as backups or depth pieces, like I've got them in some dynasty leagues where they're my number 3 or number 4 running back. They're great in that position, but in a redraft, if they're in your starting lineup, that's tough. All right, moving on. There was no controversy in this next game, not at all. There shouldn't have been. At least he was clearly offsides.
It wasn't talked for the next 48 hours straight, and probably still is being talked about.
Yeah, the only good thing about this game is I think the mystique around Patrick Mahomes as this golden boy kind of got dented because of how he reacted at the end of this game. People were making fun of him. It was great. But the Bills win 20-17. They were up 14-0, blew that lead. A great play late in this one, a pass to Travis Kelce, who threw it about 30 yards across the field to Kadarius Toney, who runs it in for a touchdown. The only problem is Kadarius Toney was pretty much all the way offsides. Reed and Mahomes whined, and then they saw the tape and went, oh, yeah, we look dumb for whining.
Yeah, because Mahomes absolutely went
he went ballistic on the sideline. He said something about that's the worst BS call I've ever seen to Josh Allen after Allen won, and Allen just looked at him like, okay, good game. Bye.
GG.
Yeah. The Bills, with this win, 7-6, part of the horde. They are still very much in playoff contention. They had to win one of those games against Dallas next week or the Chiefs this week to really give themselves a good chance, because then they have Miami late, but a couple soft ones in between. I think they can get to 10 or 11 wins for sure with their schedule. We saw Miami not look great on Monday night. The Bills are a dangerous team. I know as a Dolphins fan, I don't want to see them in the playoffs. As a team that might have to play them in the playoffs, I don't want to see them in the playoffs. But the Chiefs did not do the AFC any favors. They fall 20-17. Chiefs still lead the division at 8-5, but their hopes of the 1 seed all but gone as they're now 2 games behind Baltimore.
Up for this game, definitely the Bills needed a miracle after just that sequence of weeks and bye weeks where you had Von Miller that was being arrested. Of course, the charge was recanted. Then, of course, you had the Ken Dorsey earlier being fired. And then you had the whole 9/11 speech from surfacing by Coach McDermott 4 years later. So just, the Bills really needed to win. They say that winning fixes everything. They really needed some fixing after those 2 weeks. Obvious downs. Toney not looking to the ref to see if he was offsides. Second game this season, he has personally cost the Chiefs. Already, see, week 1, the drop. Mahomes for his outburst and whiny presser afterwards. Plus, Chiefs receiving. It's so bad the shipping and receiving department is temporarily renamed to the shipping department. Oh boy.
Yeah, after the way the Super Bowl ended with that little ticky-tack holding call, that the defender for the Eagles said, hey, I grabbed the jersey. It's a call to react like that to a legitimate call. Not a great look, Patrick. And terrible work by ESPN and the rest of the sports media for giving this as much attention. Like it was a controversy. He was clearly offside. Say Pat Mahomes is an idiot and move on. There are better things to talk about than was he offside? Yeah, he was offside. It was very
normally I would not want to put the NBA in the spotlight, but I think Draymond Green basically hitting somebody in the head in the middle of the game. And I know he's definitely suspended now. Yeah, I think that's more important than somebody whining and having an outburst on the field.
And even though we both think the NBA in-season tournament was completely idiotic, I believe that wrapped up over this last weekend. You could have talked about that over Kadira Tony had his foot on the line of scrimmage, and was he offside? Should they have called that call? Yes, they should have called the call. It was a penalty.
All he had to do was look over and have the side judge go, yo, or let him know somehow your butt's off sides, and then they would have won the game.
Yeah, to quote the Tom Grassi video from this game when they're trying to arbitrate with the refs, here's the list of reasons why that call shouldn't have been made. Pat Mahomes, the play was really cool. There was $5 at the end of the paper. Yeah, there was no reason not to call it, so I don't have a problem with it. Chiefs lose.
There might be $5 on the here, or there might not be $5 on here.
Yeah, Chiefs lose, Bills win, and we move on. The Chargers are just a disaster. And it's going to get worse.
That's being kind.
Yeah, now without Justin Herbert, they lose to the Broncos 24-7. The Broncos improved to, you guessed it, 7-6 in the AFC. It's like that record doesn't want to go away. The Chargers fall to 5-8.
It's a mystical, magical number.
I think it's going to be a lot of like 10-7 teams at the end of the year, so it's going to be a tiebreaker cluster. Thank God the NFL has clearly defined ones, not their NFL.com fantasy crap. I'm bitter. I'm very bitter. But Cortland Sutton continues his hot ways of getting a touchdown.
Hacking Ryan Gilchrist, maybe it's salty, Ryan.
It's head-to-head, and I beat the 4 seed with the same record, and I'm out at 7 here. I'm saving that for final. I don't know. Broncos win 24-7. Chargers lose Justin Herbert. The season looks over. Why haven't they fired Brandon Staley, Joel?
Yes, as the world wonders, that definite up. Yeah, you got to give it to Cortland Sutton. Another amazing one-handed catch for a touchdown. Just the dude is like a living highlights package. You got to wonder when he's going to do a flip or something. Yeah, the down. Justin Herbert sustained a thumb injury that did. You might want to change the mic to did end the season, and kind of maybe for him and how that team is playing a blessing, because he just I know it's got to hurt. Fractures absolutely suck, but yeah, he doesn't have to go in and have that offensive line let people get to him. Literally, the season has just been horrible. Was it a comment I saw? Somebody posted, "What have you learned from this year? Which players are you never learning? Which players are you never drafting again? And why are they all Los Angeles Chargers?"
Yeah, that's the list right now. Herbert was already off my board because he hurt me last year after I finally believed in him. Austin Eckler looks old. Keenan Allen's getting old. We'll see how this team looks next year with a new head coach. Obviously, Brandon Staley's not going to last. This is definitely a top 10 drafting team, it looks like, unless they somehow win out with the hockey stick man behind center, which I just don't think is going to happen. All of that being said, the Broncos at 7-6 still have hopes for the postseason. The Chargers, we'll see them in a couple hours, but they are dead. They're definitely not making the playoffs.
I'm waiting for the you tree the new thing to eliminate team in the playoffs is the guillotine.
Yeah. All right, next up, which was supposed to be the game of the week, but turned into a big steaming pile of Dallas Cowboys beating down the Eagles.
You let me down, Eagles, after I picked you. You let me down, Eagles.
Yeah, this felt like a bounce-back game for the Eagles, and it was a beat-down game for the Cowboys. They win 33-13 in a game that really wasn't that close.
I picked you, and you let me down.
Yeah, the Cowboys looked good on all the fronts. CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Jake Ferguson, Dak Prescott, Tony Pollard, Rico Dowdle. Everybody had a good game in this one. For the Eagles, it was not great. Just really nobody got it going. The Eagles fall to 10-3. The Cowboys improve to 10-3, but virtue of the tiebreaker, the Eagles still maintain the top spot in the NFC East, but fall behind the Niners for the top spot in the NFC, which could be big if these two teams meet in the playoffs once again.
Yeah, the true star, I know you're probably going to look at me like I'm on something, but that was one Brandon Aubrey. Rookie kicker was 4 for 9 on field goals, especially with how many doinks and whoopsies we've seen recently.
Yeah.
Breaking the NFL record with 2 field goals, good from 59 yards in a single game. He's 30 of 30 on field goals made, field goals attempted, field goals made on the season. That's pretty darn good.
And not a football player before, after college. He played college soccer at Notre Dame. Decided to pick up field goal kicking. It's worked out pretty well.
And the down, yeah, sad noises. He's the quarterback on one of my fantasy teams. Jalen Hurts. Zilch touchdowns tonight and has failed to eclipse 200 passing yards in 3 of his last 4 games. The Eagle at the end of their gauntlet. Des Moines just starting theirs.
Yeah. I think he'll be fine fantasy-wise going forward, but a tough week for the Eagles. All right, now we got to talk about it. Dolphins.
You can be strong. You can get through this.
If the game ends after 57 minutes, they win this by 2 touchdowns. But the games go the full 60, and the Titans come back 28-27. Derrick Henry with 2 touchdowns in this game. Tyreek Hill left for an extended period of time with an ankle injury, but did come back into this game. The offense looked completely lost without Tyreek Hill. Couple deep fumbles in Titans territory by the Titans that led to a couple Dolphins touchdowns, made this game 27-13 with about 4 minutes left. Titans then moved the ball at will. Will Levis had his best game since his first game. He showed a flash that he could be a good quarterback in this league, unlike Bryce Young. And the Titans at 5-8, I don't think have playoff. They don't have playoff aspirations at 5-8, but the Dolphins blow a golden opportunity to move 2 ahead of everybody not named the Ravens in the AFC. Hold the Bills 3 games back with 4 to play. They fall to 9-4. That division now becomes a little more in play, and of course that 1 seed becomes harder to get.
Yeah, definite credit to Levis, who looks like he is definitely one of the Tennessee Titans as they move away from the Ryan Tannehill era and move closer to the Will Levis era. You shook off the bad pitch to Henry to lead the Titans back in the 4th to beat the Dolphins in Miami. On the lose side of the losing cause, Raheem Mostert also gets an up. H.N. who? Mostert toted the rock 21 times, 75% of the carries for 96 yards, and 2 touchdowns, despite sharing the rushing load with home run threat Devon H.N. But, you never count him out. Of course, the down. Yeah, I know you're sad to hear this one, but Tua Tagovailoa, normally the quickest passer in the game, disposing of the ball in approximately 2.3 seconds on average. Tagovailoa took 5 sacks and threw for just 240 yards and no scores.
Yeah, Tua's record in games where he takes 2 sacks or more is a roughly 500 record, and in games he doesn't, he's almost undefeated. It's absurd. Credit to the Titans for showing a lot of fight in this one, and we move on to, you thought that comeback was impressive. Well, the Packers decided to blow a lead too. Giants win this one 24-22, 2 touchdowns by Saquon Barkley. Packers 6-7, still holding that 7 seed for now. Giants at 5-8 find themselves, them, the Bears, a couple other teams that we thought were dead in the water, just a game out of a playoff spot. Tommy DeVito, 3 straight wins now for him and the Giants, and all of a sudden this team looks, I don't want to say dangerous or scary, but they look competent. At the very least, we're seeing a little bit more like what we saw of the Giants last year, at least, and they're primed to get Darren Waller back in the near future.
Yeah, definite up for this game has to be Wan'Dale Robinson, by far his best game of the season, involved in rushing attack as well. The down, A.J. Dillon slow going for Dillon in the run game.
Broken thumb.
Averaging less than 4 yards per catch.
Yeah, broken thumb as well for him in this one. So tough night for the Packers, tough night for the Dolphins on Monday night. And I'll talk about my ups and downs of that night in my final thoughts because
good week for the Cardinals and the Commanders. They were off.
Yeah. So quickly going through the playoff situation. We'll start in the NFC because the 49ers have clinched the first playoff spot of the season. They're right now the 1 seed at 10-3. The Cowboys, it says, are in 2, but if the Eagles win out, they will jump them ahead. Cowboys in second at 10-3. Lions at 9-4 in third. Buccaneers 6-7. They're the 4 seed. Eagles 10-3 at the 5. Vikings 7-6 in the 6 seed. Packers hold the 7 seed at 6-7. Teams in the hunt: Rams, Seahawks, Falcons, Saints all at 6-7. Giants, Bears at 5-8. Commanders, Cardinals pretty much dead in the water, and the Panthers have been eliminated. Cough's getting worse. In the AFC, Ravens now the number 1 seed at 10-3. Dolphins fall to 9-4, also fall to second place. Chiefs, Jaguars 3-4 at 8-5. Browns the 5 seed at 8-5. 6-7. Steelers, Colts at 7-6. 8, 9, 10, 11. Texans, Broncos, Bengals, Bills all at 6-7 as well. Behind that, you got the Chargers, Raiders 5-8, Jets 5-8, Titans 5-8, all pretty much drawing dead. Patriots already eliminated. Talking is hard when you have a bad throat. Anywho, previewing tonight's glorious game. The Los Angeles Chargers go to Las Vegas to play the Raiders. All of your stars are probably out. No Herbert, no Allen, no Josh Jacobs. It's just going to be Devontae Adams out there and Austin Eckler as your star. That's probably already playing in fantasy. Raiders scored 0 points last week, lost 3-0. Chargers scored 7, so we're on pace for a great high-scoring game, I'm sure. Joel, who do you got?
Over under set at 10. No, wait, not 10, but can't be too high.
I think it's 34.
As Chargers' only win in the last 5 games was that horrid game against the Pats. Raiders were shut out in a 3-0 cluster against the Vikings. The only reason to pick the Chargers here, Raiders could be without Jacobs. He is confirmed now. They are confirmed that, well, he ain't playing. As Zamir White's popularity on the waiver wire has given the lack of offense we have seen from the Raiders, it is hard trusting them here. Easton Stick still the name of the week, gets his NFL debut, for whatever that means. And Chargers should allegedly have the better offense, whatever the hell that means. Here, we shall see. As Raiders just a field goal favorite showing. Not much home field advantage as over and under just 23.5 total. Ouch. Barely a field goal advantage. You just got to give the little bit of edge to the Chargers, as I wouldn't be surprised to be wrong, but it's just hard trusting the Raiders after it took them almost 2.5 or 3 hours to score a field goal against the Vikings.
They didn't score a field goal. They lost.
That was right, against the Vikings. But the Chargers definitely have arguably the better offense here. Jacobs was in. I might be tempted, but total complete backup quarterbacks. So it's just a mess. But I'm picking the Chargers. The Raiders really don't have home field advantage.
I'm taking Vegas because I do believe they're going to start Jimmy Garoppolo. It's not announced, but Brian Hoyer inactive. However, I'm looking at these standings behind me. Joel's up by 16 games, so you probably want to put your money where Joel's mouth is in this case. But I'm going to take the Raiders just because I think the Chargers are done. I think Easton Stick, they're down their top 2 wide receivers. If the Raiders have any brain, they're going to just focus on stopping Austin Eckler and say, if Quentin Johnson can beat us and maybe Joshua Palmer on the outside.
Like that meme, get a brain, Morans.
Yeah, go ahead and get it if you can, but I think Vegas is just going to have a little bit too much. And what I fully expect to be a 10-6 style game. Yeah, I think it's going to be very, very gross. All right. Before I die, let's go to Joel for final thoughts and wrap this puppy up.
All right, then as we go to the right window, there we go. Just final thought is, how crazy has this season been? This was a poll that was posted on Reddit. This crazy, all of these things could possibly happen. 1. The Denver Broncos can clinch the AFC West. 2. The Browns have a decent chance to win the NFC North. Unlikely, but still. 3. Aaron Rodgers used voodoo magic to maybe, hopefully not, maybe come back. 4. The Texans have a shot at the playoffs. That one's looking a little bit
Little
murky.
suspect.
Yeah, little sus. Borrowing from Among Us. The Chiefs might actually suck posterior. I'm cleaning that up a little bit.
Suck butt.
Yeah, the 3-letter word in Chiefs standards. Yeah, and the final one, that would be Joe Flacco is starting. WTF. Credit to the poll goes to Reddit user Care Outrageous 897, and their tag is a Factory of Sadness employee. So I think I know which team they cheer for.
That would be the Cleveland Browns.
And the final one I want to add as just another deal of how crazy the season is. The AFC and NFC Players of the Week. That would be Zach Wilson and Tom DeVito.
Tommy DeVito, Mr. Chicken Cutlets himself.
Tommy DeVito.
Oh, here's the fun part. Zach Wilson loves moms, and Tommy DeVito lives with him. It's a match made in heaven.
Hey.
All right, my final thought is going to be my emotional roller coaster from Monday night because I was battling for what I thought was going to be a playoff spot. Yeah, that too. I thought I was going to be battling for a playoff spot, and I had to root for the Dolphins defense and won. Derrick Henry, whose jersey I am wearing because for whatever reason I still love Derrick Henry, even though he broke my soul. So as that game comes to a conclusion, I am down 2.5 points and the Titans are driving. I have to make a decision. Do I want Derrick Henry to score, possibly losing that game for the Dolphins and winning my fantasy game, or do I want the Dolphins to win? Of course, I couldn't make a decision. Derrick Henry made it for me, scoring the touchdown, putting me up by 4, and I celebrated because I thought I'm in the playoffs for a team that started 2-6, and there's a red X next to it because it's not true. So, yeah, I get up the next morning thinking, okay, I got it. The system for NFL updates between 3 and 4:30 in the morning. I know that because I was up at that time because I was doing a charity function at work. You would think that would help my chances of things going my way, but it didn't. So at 3, nothing had changed. About 3:45, I check again. It has the records updated. It has the playoff matchups posted and has me as the 6th seed. At 4:30, I was no longer listed as the 6th seed. NFL.com, your fantasy tiebreakers are bad. I don't understand them. I don't like them. And then you changed it. So the Dolphins lose. Derrick Henry gets me a win that doesn't get me into the playoffs. I win the game. I beat the 1 seed, get knocked out of the playoffs. And immediately the next day I go, we need to change the total points. So at least I can explain why I missed the playoffs next time if it's a tiebreaker. Because this is the second time I've missed the tiebreaker at 7-7 as the 7 seed, winning 3 in a row to get to that point. Last time that happened, I won the toilet bowl because the playoffs did not go my way after that. So here's to hoping that part of history doesn't repeat itself. But NFL.com, Derrick Henry and the Dolphins, thank you for ruining my Monday night / Tuesday morning.
Even though it's used in a different context, the appropriate soundbite there would be from Joe Mora. You think you know what you don't know, and never will.
One other note, the passing of Andre Brogner, actor who was in the show I love, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Captain Holt, if you're aware of it, passed away due to a sudden illness. Of course, me being sick right now is not encouraging for that, but for him, just a quick 9-9. And that's our time. I am Flying Ryan Gilchrist, along with
Tampa Motor Mouth, Joel Verlin.
And we'll be back, I think we're assuming Saturday. I know the weather's going to be complete turd water out there.
Yeah, that's a good description.
Yeah, possibly very, very, it's definitely going to be raining. Possibly heavy rain. High 20 to 30 mile an hour wind.
Might have to move it to Sunday morning if that's viable.
Might be Sunday morning. It might be tomorrow night. It might be one of those we have to just rush it beforehand. We'll see
Yeah.
how it goes. But yeah, I'm supposed to be playing a disc golf tournament as of now in 20 to 30 mile an hour winds and torrential rain. And it's 2 rounds in the same day that starts at 9 a.m. and goes until about 4 p.m. If it happens, I'm going to play. I'm not going to enjoy it. But if it happens, I'm going to play. The rain will be a factor. And we'll see. It might get canceled. It should hopefully, probably, maybe, possibly. I would cancel it if it was them, but I'm not the one running it.
You've got a subtropical storm possibly coming in. Yeah, that would be the sensible logistical thing to do.
Yeah, let's go outside and throw some frisbees. And with that,